What's up, social fam? I'm your boy, Bo Knows Production. While you're at it, I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Um, leave some comments, let me know how I'm doing because I'm really enjoying this genealogy section that I'm, entering into this channel. And I just wanted to see how you guys like it. And this is actually episode 3 of my mother's maternal line, going up the women's side, my mom's mom, her mom, her mom, her mom, as far as I can go. So I want you to sit back. Before you sit back, hit that subscribe button and enjoy. So, some stories aren't found in records. They just not. They're passed down, told carefully, sometimes quietly, because of what they carry. This is one of those stories. In the last episode, I talked to you about my grandmother, Clara May Sibley, the woman who raised me. But before I ever started researching, she gave me something just as important as records. She gave me stories. She told me about her mom and everything her mom told her and what she learned. My grandmother told me that her mother lost her mother, my great-great-grandmother, in childbirth in 1912. That puts my great-grandmother about 11 or 12 when her mom died. She became the oldest sibling at such a young age. 12 and you're the oldest sibling? My grandmother also told me that her mother, my great-grandmother, was sexually assaulted by a white man in 1914. So she was just 14 years old. And from that, a child was born. So let that sit in. Lost your mom, 1912. 3 years later, you're 14, 15, and then you get sexually assaulted by a white man in the South. And then you have a baby. That's a lot. That's a lot. For me, that's a lot. This isn't just a detail in my family history. This is part of a much larger story, one that African American families carry. We carry this kind of baggage. This is trauma that's inside of us that we don't even know. In 1915, this was the reality for many black women in the South. Liberty, Amite County, Mississippi is that part of the South this happened in, where my grandmother was at when this happened, my great-grandmother, to be exact. There was no protection for these women. There was no justice for these women. No system that recognized that pain was caused to these women. So these stories didn't make it into the official records, but they lived on through generations because now I'm here telling a story that happened in 1915. They lasted, even though they didn't make it to the newspaper or court, they still lasted. My grandmother also shared that her mother had 2 sets of twins that both died shortly after giving birth. Then later, she lost her husband in 1944 when my grandmother was about 5 and eventually moved away from where she was living and remarried. When you look at all this together, that's a lifetime of loss, responsibility, and survival. Hearing these stories now as an adult, I understand them differently than when I heard them when my grandmother was just telling me. These aren't just events. They experienced these experiences that shaped the women who raised my grandmother and ultimately who shaped me. And what stands out the most is even through the trauma, even through the loss, through things that was never written down, my family continued to survive. They survived. They kept going and going and going. Kind of like that Energizer bunny. not trying to be funny. But my family kept living. These stories made it to me. I'm able to share these stories with the world. I'm able to take some stories and have them on my shoulder while I'm researching and looking through these census records, these Freeman's Bureau, looking through death certificates, birth certificates, like just when I'm searching all of this stuff that we have access to, thanks to technology and it being 2026 now. I have these stories on my shoulder to kind of fact check and say, well, I remember my grandmother saying this, so this kind of aligns with this. So I have, a, a better outlook at it when I'm researching, because I can go back and kind of fact check and see, do it align with what I was told. And that's really, really, that's amazing to have. So in the next episode, I'm taking these stories and I'm going to compare them with the actual records to see what I can confirm, uncover, and understand even deeper. Because now this isn't just a story. It's a search for the truth. It's a search to see how much we were suppressed, how much they suppressed our records, how much they tried to hide stuff, how much we didn't matter, in the early 1900s, and before, So I'm on a quest to just find the truth and to combine it with stories and kind of rewrite or relive what I was told with factual, hard up evidence. And so you want to be here for episode 2, well, the next episode 4, because I'm going to actually, compare actual records with stories with my great grandmother. And we're going to see how this pans out. So, I want to tell you guys, thank you for tuning in, and peace.